She wasn't home. Lights off, kitchen clean, her shoes missing from the mat. I set my phone on the counter, took a breath, and texted, "You with the girls again?" Nothing. I ate a reheated chicken breast at the sink like a bachelor who forgot he wasn't one. 30 minutes later, when I'd already killed the lights and stretched out alone, the phone lit up my nightstand. "Yeah, sorry. I'll be back soon." Soon had turned into a running joke I wasn't laughing at. I stared at the ceiling. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have slept just fine and saved the wine. The next morning, I tried to pretend it was a blip. She drifted in at dawn, showered without a word, left a trail of perfume in the hallway, and went straight to her laptop. I made coffee. She took hers to go and told me she was slammed. Then she was gone again, a shadow in designer boots I never saw long enough to scuff. I still believed effort could fix it. That's on me. So I went practical. I grabbed a rack of ribeye, set the table for two, lit a candle I hadn't touched since Christmas, and checked the time like a rookie waiting to be called up. At 6, I texted, "Dinner's at 7. No response. At 7, the steak rested. At 8, the candle burned down and my patience did too. At 8:30, her text buzzed, "I'm with the girls. Staying over. Don't wait." I shut off the candle with a teaspoon, held the smoke under the sink faucet, and laughed once, sharp, humorless. If she wasn't waiting for home, I wasn't going to wait for gratitude. The doorbell rang. It was Lily, her sister, standing on the porch in a denim jacket, hair in a messy bun, holding a tote bag and a bottle of seltzer. Lily lived 5 minutes away, taught art at the community center, and had a look that said she was always between places, never in one long enough to collect dust. "Hey, is Erin home?" she asked. "She said you guys were in tonight." "She's with the girls," I told her, widening the door. "But dinner's cooked, and it's criminal to let a steak die alone." Lily smiled with that dry, amused face she wore when students brought in last-minute projects. I can't say no to a felony. We ate at the table I pretended wasn't set for a performance. Lily cut her steak like it was a test she intended to pass. She noticed the 2 glasses, the nicer plates, the candle's drowned wick. "You went out of your way," she said, not a question. Apparently not far enough. She cocked her head. "You want to talk about it, or just chew in solidarity?" Solidarity sounds easier. But you walked into the wrong kitchen if you wanted a quiet night. I took a breath and gave her the facts. Not the sob story. She's mostly out. Cold when she's in. Everything's a shrug or a schedule conflict. I plan, she cancels. I ask, she smiles past me. Last week she told me, word for word, "It's not personal, I just need space." Lily tapped her fork once on the plate. Space is a room. A week is a different property line. "Good line," I said. "You can invoice me." "It's not my place," she added, lowering her voice like someone might be recording, "but on her place. If I were married to a man who cooked, worked, and actually showed up, I'd hold on with both hands. I wouldn't treat that like a background app." "I hear you." I moved the salt aside. "And I appreciate it." We talked too long for weeknight discipline. She told me about a kid who painted trees like blue forks and titled the piece Winter, and I told her about a project at the plant that finally got green-lit after 6 months of getting kicked around. The clock slid past 11. When she stood, I grabbed my jacket. "I'll walk you," I offered. "It's dark." "Dark isn't scary," she said. "But thanks." We walked the 2 blocks. Her street was quiet, only a stray cat trotting under a porch. At her stoop she hesitated, stepped in, and hugged me. Not a quick pat. A thoughtful, human wrap that said more than it should. She pulled back. "I'm sorry you're dealing with this." "It is what it is," I answered. "And I'm not shopping." "That wasn't," she shook her head. "I know. Good night, Jack." "Night, Lily." On the way home, my phone buzzed again. "Don't wait up," from Erin. I put the phone in my pocket and didn't answer. I already had. When Erin slipped in around 7, I was awake, sitting at the table with the empty candlestick like a witness. "Morning," I said. She poured coffee. "Morning. We need to talk." She didn't look up. "About what?" "About why my wife spends more nights with friends than with me." "That's not your business," she replied, still stirring. "I need what I need. I'm not changing my social life because you're feeling clingy." "Clingy," I repeated, like tasting a cheap root beer. "Okay, here's mine. I'm not carrying this house alone while you treat it like a hotel lobby." She finally looked at me. What does that even mean? It means I'm done doing the heavy lift while you pop in for amenities. Starting today, our accounts are separate. I'm freezing the shared card. Rent, utilities, split 50-50 on the second. If you're not home, I'm not planning around you. No more standing reservations. No more hopeful calendars. We live like roommates until there's respect again. Her mouth twisted into something between a smirk and a dare. You can't control me. I'm not trying to. I picked up my keys. I'm just not funding or scheduling whatever this is. We'll see each other when it's earned. You're being dramatic. I'm being specific, I told her, and left for work. By lunch, I'd moved my direct deposit, changed the passwords to anything with my name on it, and set a rule in my phone. No initiating texts after 6 p.m. 2 adults in one house shouldn't need reminders, but I was done auditioning. That night, she came home late again. I was in the garage lifting the toolbox into the trunk. My neighbor Mark wandered over from his driveway, wiping his hands on a rag. You too good? He asked, eyes flicking toward our place. Haven't seen her Subaru since, what, Tuesday? We're adjusting, I said. Erin stepped out of her car high and light, like she didn't weigh anything. She saw us, waved at Mark, and gave me a polite nod like you give a coworker you don't hate. Hey Mark, she sang. Jack's just mad because I have friends. I didn't swallow that in private. I wasn't going to swallow it in my own driveway. I'm not mad, I replied. I'm busy. Erin and I are splitting expenses and time until we're a team again. Mark, if I'm not around for poker night, don't wait. Erin blinked. You're announcing our finances to the block now. I'm announcing my calendar, I said. You can announce yours to whoever is taking applications. She laughed under her breath and headed inside. Mark pretended to need his rag badly and retreated. I drove to the hardware store and bought a new lock for the office room that had quietly become my spare. I put my gun safe, papers, and laptop in there. Not because I believed she'd burn the place down, because clarity lives behind locks. The next morning, there was a plate on the counter. Pancakes and a sticky note. Sorry about last night. Dinner tonight? I'll be home by 7. Promise. There it was, the first soft landing. I could hear the gears turning. He's pulling back. Patch it up just enough. I'm not paranoid. I just know patterns. I texted, 7 works. At 6:45, I had a salad tossed and a sheet pan of chicken ready to broil. At 7:10, she texted, running behind. Don't hate me. At 8, she texted, I promised Jenna I'd stop by. Rain check. I took the sheet pan out, snapped a picture of the brown chicken thighs, and sent it to myself like evidence. Then I put half the food in a glass container labeled Lily. I walked it over. She opened the door in an oversized sweater, a paint smear on her wrist. You're saving me again, she joked. I'm saving the chicken from the trash, I said. You're the nearest shelter. We ate on her couch with a muted TV playing a cooking show that made our dinner look underdressed. I told her about the pancake note and the cancel text. She watched me while I talked, not as a sister looking for ammunition, but as a person who hates waste. Jack, she said finally, I know it's not my place. But you're not crazy. Something's off. Want my blunt answer? Always. You either said a real line or you bleed out by paper cuts. If it were me, I'd get clarity. If that means hiring someone who knows how to find it, fine. You're saying hire a private eye. I'm saying stop guessing. If it's clean, you sleep better. If it's not, you act. I nodded. You know someone? She spread her hands. Our teacher network is surprisingly useless for that. But Google knows everyone. I didn't sleep long. At 8 the next morning, during my first coffee, I called a licensed firm 2 towns over. I gave them a week and a retainer I could afford without asking anyone for permission. I didn't tell Erin. I didn't hint. I went to the gym, to work, to my life. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the story. During that week, Lily and I became regulars at Normal. We grabbed tacos from a truck, walked by the river, and ended an evening at the community center's open studio. She showed me a wall of student work, each canvas bold and uneven. She talked about kids finding their voice with a brush. I listened and realized I'd been whispering in my own house. On Thursday, I found a brown envelope in my office room, tucked under the door where I'd asked for drop-off. Inside, a typed report Time-stamped photos, a name I recognized from a long-ago story, and an address across town. The images weren't obscene. They didn't need to be. People don't hold each other like that by accident. People don't enter a building at midnight and leave at 8 because of board games. Nobody hugs on a sidewalk with the kind of relief you save for airports unless they're landing somewhere. The investigator's summary was clean. Repeated meetups, late nights, overnights, a man Aaron had dated before me. The dots weren't dots. They were a line. I sat with it. Sat until my anger cooled into something sharper. Then I called a financial attorney I knew from a contractor on one of our projects. We talked structure, protection, clean exits. He gave me a checklist. I worked through it like a punch list. Accounts separated, auto pay adjusted, beneficiary forms updated, access limited. I wasn't threatening. I was planning. Then I called Lily. You were right. I have clarity. She was quiet a moment. I'm sorry, she said, and I could hear her mean it. Do you need a couch? I need a plan, I answered. And I already have one. But I appreciate it. I'm not going to create a story someone else can spin. Understood, she said. Still, if you need to get out for your own head, my guest room is clean. Not tonight, I told her. I'm going to wait at home. I want to see if she walks through the door like nothing's wrong. She didn't walk through the door at all. Midnight came and left. At 7 a.m., I texted, "Where are you?" 10 minutes later, "Relax. I'm in Paris with the girls. Back next week." Paris. That wasn't a girls' night down the block. That was a continent and a tone. I took a screenshot and sent it to Lily. She called immediately. "Put on coffee," she said. "I'm driving over. We're taking a photo. And you're sending her your own line." I half laughed. "That's petty." "It's not petty to tell the truth," she replied. "She's not your wife this week. You're not her concierge." When Lily arrived, she hugged me at the door and held the phone out with the camera flipped. We took a quick selfie. Nothing intimate, just two people who trusted each other standing shoulder to shoulder in my kitchen. I typed, "Relax. No one's waiting on you anymore. Except the papers." I hit send. Then I turned to Lily. "Remember when you said you'd hold on with both hands if you had what I gave?" I asked. "I remember," she said, looking me straight on. "I still think it. For someone like you." I told her. I'd hold even tighter. We didn't rush anything. We just moved like life had been waiting for permission. We went to the movies and actually watched. We walked the trail by the reservoir and talked about family and stupid childhood stories I hadn't told in years. I slept at my own house every night and sent every call from Paris to voicemail after letting it ring twice. She left messages, soft now, syrupy where she'd been cold. "Hey babe, call me when you can. Let's reset when I'm back. I miss you so much." Then a video chat request that I declined and a follow-up text. "We should try a weekend away, just us. Therapy maybe? I'm in if you are." There was the second soft landing, wrapped in care, padded with future promises. I answered with the same short line each time. "We can discuss when you're home." In the meantime, I packed. I pulled her closet into neat stacks, folded what I'd bought and what she'd brought, and loaded 2 suitcases. I placed the brown envelope on the dining table. I put a pin with the papers on the counter. I moved my wedding photos to a plastic bin and stuck it in the garage. I ordered a cleaning service for Monday. Clarity is a kind of housekeeping. On the 7th day, just before lunch, the front door swung hard enough to rattle the frame. Aaron barreled in, sunglasses up, hair perfect, voice loud like volume could reset time. "What is this?" she demanded, eyes on the suitcases. "What are you doing?" "Housekeeping," I replied. "You've got everything you need in those bags." She threw her hands toward the counter. "And this? Seriously? You send me a selfie with my sister? You trying to make me look stupid?" I picked up the envelope and slid the first photo onto the table. She didn't look down. "Answer me," she pressed. "Were you with her? Be honest for once." I laid another photo beside the first, then another, like slow-motion cards in a quiet game. Her eyes dropped. Her face didn't fall dramatically. It sharpened like someone realizing the exam had started and they'd studied the wrong chapter. "What is this?" Her voice thinned. These could be. "They're dates and times," I said. "That's a lobby I can name. That's a building you didn't grow up in. That's a man I remember from your old stories. You hired someone to follow me?" Now her tone went for outrage like a ladder. "That's so invasive. I can't believe you would. For a year, I gave you the benefit of the doubt." I cut in. This last week, I gave myself the benefit of facts. I tapped the photos. While I made dinner, you were here. While I waited, you were there. While I called, you were too busy to press a button. She pressed the table with her palms. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like, I answered. It just doesn't include the language you'd prefer I use. She looked toward the door like an exit might appear if she stared hard enough. You're throwing away a marriage over what? Over me traveling? Over your weird control issues. I pointed to the suitcases. No. Over the point where respect left the room. Over the morning you told me it wasn't my business how you lived while cashing the life I built. Over Paris as a surprise text like I'm your handyman. You're overreacting, she tried. We can fix this. I was just lost. I was stressed. I needed. What you needed wasn't me, I said. And what I need now isn't you. I nodded at the counter. The papers are ready. I've signed them. She stared at the forms, then back at me. The fight drained a notch. You can't be serious. I'm not performing, I replied. The locks on the office changed. Shared card is closed. Your key still works, but only until tonight. Your ride is in the driveway. She tried one more angle, a voice I hadn't heard since the first year. Jack, please, don't do this. I made mistakes. I'll cut off everything. Delete numbers. Whatever you want. I'll work on it. I'll come home. We can do counseling. I'll be better. Just give me a chance. I shook my head. You had a year of chances I didn't call chances. I called them Tuesdays. Her eyes glistened. She reached out, then dropped her hand when she saw my face wasn't moving toward hers. She picked up a suitcase handle like it weighed 100 pounds. You'll regret this, she muttered, more habit than prophecy. I opened the door. I'm sure I'll miss the part where I eat alone next to a candle. She rolled past me, paused on the porch, and turned back with one last jab. You didn't have to drag my sister into it. I met her stare. I didn't drag anyone. Not you. Not her. I just stopped pulling a wagon by myself. She left. The door shut with a clean click. Silence finally sounded like quiet, not absence. I drove to Lily's place without music. She opened before I knocked, like she'd been waiting near the door with a book and a theory about how the chapter would end. Well, she asked. It's done, I said. She stepped forward and wrapped me up the way decent people do when they don't ask for credit. I'm proud of you, she said into my shoulder. Not because you ended it. Because you ended it clean. I've got one more thing to end, I answered. Want to celebrate the last day I call that house ours? She pulled back, reading me. Yes, she said softly. But I'm not a rebound, Jack. I'm a decision. That's why I came to your door after I closed mine. We went to a little place on the corner that served burgers and nothing pretentious. We ate. We laughed at nothing special, and we didn't dodge the topic like cowards. She asked me what I wanted moving forward. I told her, respect first, then everything else. She told me she liked that order. The paperwork moved fast because I'd built it that way. I didn't weaponize it. I just didn't stall. A month later, signatures were inked and the mail brought confirmation, not surprises. I bought a used pickup I'd been eyeing and put sweat equity into the house I kept. I knocked down the half wall between the kitchen and living room, installed open shelves, and invited people over on Sundays like I used to. Mark came by with a bag of chips and a joke about my new bachelor pantry. I told him it was a grown man's pantry and he could stop by any time. Lily and I didn't rush into legally binding anything until the dust settled, but when we did it without spectacle. Her parents, my former in-laws, technically, stood with us in a backyard strung with cheap lights and a borrowed speaker. They'd seen the photos. They'd heard the messages. They didn't argue with proof. We started simple. Morning coffee on the porch, a standing Thursday taco run. Saturdays at the community center where I built a drying rack for canvases and learned to like the way kids see the world when nobody tells them what a tree should look like. We did a day trip to the coast. I drove the truck, she set the playlist to quiet acoustic stuff, and we didn't fill the gaps with noise. I learned to like quiet again when it came from peace, not distance. As for Aaron, I didn't hunt updates. They still found me. Someone told someone who told Lily that the old boyfriend and the new living arrangement hit a wall because reality pays bills slower than fantasy. I felt nothing triumphant about it. It was just one more thing I didn't have to carry. One afternoon, a month after the papers, my phone lit with a number I knew. I let it buzz out. A minute later, a text. I'm sorry. I messed up. I hope you're happy. There was no malice in it. Just a delayed acknowledgement. I typed, deleted, typed again, and left it unsent. Silence can be dignified. Sometimes it's a boundary, not a punishment. On a Friday evening, Lily and I hosted friends. The grill on the patio hissed. People leaned on the railing and argued about baseball, and the sun threw that last washed-out glow across the fence I'd stained last weekend. Mark handed me a beer and nodded toward the house. "You look lighter," he observed. "I'm not carrying a couch on one shoulder anymore," I said. He laughed once. "Fair." Lily passed with a tray of corn and tapped my elbow. "You still good on plates?" "I'm good on everything," I told her, and meant it. Later that night, when the last guest left and the dishwasher hummed in the background, she leaned against the counter and looked at me. "You know the line I told you that first night?" she asked. "That you'd hold on with both hands." "Still true," she said, not needing to sell it. "And not because you're perfect. Because you move like a grown man. You set rules. You keep them. You don't beg for respect. You make room for it. Then do me a favor," I said. "If I start drifting, tell me. I'm not interested in repeating patterns." She smiled. "You're not the repeating type." We went out to the porch with 2 mugs and no agenda. The neighborhood settled. Somewhere, a dog barked once and got bored. A car eased past our curb and turned the corner. I looked at the house I'd put back in order and felt that particular quiet again. The kind that doesn't accuse you of anything, doesn't ask for proof, doesn't call soon a plan. If you want a secret, it's boring. I didn't win anything. I just stopped losing time. I put a line down, then I kept it. I stopped treating drama like weather I couldn't control. I stopped holding a door for someone who kept walking out of it. And when the text from Paris came, I finally wrote back. Not to her, but to myself. I wrote the sentence I should have written the first time she ghosted dinner. "No one is waiting for you anymore." That sentence was the last thing I needed to hear from me. Everything after that was action. Weeks later, Lily and I stood at the community center during a student show. One kid's painting had a tree made of blue forks. The title was Still Winter. The artist's mom cried like the ocean and then apologized for crying. I helped stack chairs at the end, turned out the lights, locked the door. It felt like closing a shop you care about, the good kind of tired. We drove home, and as we turned onto our street, I noticed the porch light I'd installed last weekend throw a neat circle on the steps. It was a small thing, but small things add up when they're steady, when they're yours, when you're not begging anyone to show up and turn them on. I parked, killed the engine, and looked at Lily. "You hungry?" "Always." "Burgers?" I asked. "Perfect." We walked inside to our kitchen, which was not a lobby anymore. It was a place where 2 people cooked, and the only surprise trips were to the fridge. I pulled out the ground beef, she sliced tomatoes like a surgeon, and we worked. No speeches. No candles to watch die. If someone asks me what changed, I'll say this: I didn't chase. I chose. I protected what was mine, which started with me. I separated feelings from facts. I didn't make a mess when I could make a decision. I didn't hope it would turn until it did. I turned it myself. When I finally set the last photo on the table that day, I wasn't angry. I was done. That's the difference. And when I told Aaron, "No one's waiting on you anymore, except the papers," it wasn't spite. It was a timestamp. The day I stopped trying to be a husband to someone who'd moved out long before the luggage did. The day I left a room she'd emptied and opened a door someone else actually walked through. Now, when Lily threads her arm through mine as we beeline to the movie theater, or when she drifts to sleep on the couch halfway through a documentary, and I throw a blanket over both of us without turning off the screen, I feel the simplest thing I was missing. Respect. Then everything else. In that order. Always.